my fellow dorks? It is the Turtle Dork here with a new recap and reaction for episode 3 of season 5 of Game of Thrones. This episode is called The High Sparrow, directed by Mark Mylod. Mylod.
Bruh.
I'm the Turtle Dork. This is the Disco Dork. Let's get into it. So we start this episode off with Arya at the house of Black and White. So she's inside and she's sweeping, and there's somebody that's dead or passed out. I can't remember exactly.
Nah, man, that was the homeboy that was sitting on the sitting on the fountain with Jock, and he gave him the water.
Yeah. But what happened to him though?
He drank the fucking water.
And what happened to him?
His ass died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's something in that water that fucking killed him.
Oh, something in the water. And throwing a little Black Panther Kendrick in there. All right, so we get to the wedding of Tommen and Marjorie.
Oh yeah.
So we're back in the Sept, and they're wed. And of course, Cersei's not happy. But what I like about this scene is there's 3 scenes, this whole sequence. So then we get to a couple of scenes actually we could actually talk about, because the scene with Cersei and Marjorie. But before we get there, we have Cersei with Tommen in bed. So she basically
Cersei's not with Tommen.
That's Marjorie. I get my names mixed up. Sorry guys. Marjorie.
Yeah.
Marjorie in bed with Tommen. Yeah, you wouldn't want that. Marjorie in bed with Tommen. So she turns him out. He's a young boy. His first time he's had a piece. And of course, again, Marjorie knows what she's doing. So she's got Tommen kind of wrapped around her little pinky finger. And so he kind of puts into his ear, as far as
She puts in his ear.
She puts into his ear. That her mother likes to protect him. She'll always look at you as her baby boy. The lion protects the cub, and
basically just trying to make him feel self-conscious about Cersei being overprotective so that he can cast her away, so that Marjorie doesn't have to worry about Cersei's presence and influence on things there.
So then we have the scene with Cersei and Tommen when, Tommen talks to her about, hey, didn't you like Casterly Rock?
Didn't you say you like Casterly Rock and you didn't like King? Why don't you take your ass back to Casterly Rock?
So Cersei picks up on that, and then we have the scene between Cersei and Marjorie, which I think... I don't know. There's some great acting by Lena Headey in this moment, because you can really see how she doesn't know. It's already well known how she doesn't like Marjorie,
and Marjorie knows it. Which I don't know. That scene plays kind of weird to me. I don't know. I guess not within the context of the show, but just with Cersei's thinking, what her headspace is, because Cersei has to know that Marjorie knows that Cersei doesn't like her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because Cersei is well aware of her behavior towards Marjorie up to this point. So for her all of a sudden to come up to Marjorie and be like, yo, I'm so happy for you. If there's anything you need, just let me know. I don't know, that I don't understand how Cersei could even approach her in that way.
Well, I mean, I think at this point she just kind of, I don't want to say she fears for Tommen, but she understands that's her baby boy. You don't think it's Cersei trying to kiss up to her so she's not cast off, so that Marjorie doesn't continue to try to influence Tommen to push her away? Yeah. I mean, I think that's all a part of it, because she knows the hold that she has over Tommen, and she fears that she will be cast aside because of the influence that Marjorie has over Tommen, and I think she's trying to kind of mitigate that to some degree by being nice to Marjorie, so maybe she won't send her off, or Tommen won't send her off. And I think that's what she's scared of. That's what she's fearful of. Because she wants to be near her son, because she knows Marjorie is, at least in her eyes, Marjorie is not good for her son. Yeah, so good. I think it was a good scene. Good scene between both of them. Roose and Ramsey arranged. So this is the scene before we get to when they actually meet up. But the scene with Theon Reek, as he is now, is serving them food. But they're basically talking. Roose is talking to Ramsey about the alliances that Roose has built, as far as with the houses and them being able to take over the North and him becoming the Warden of the North, and now that Tywin is dead, in order to keep the stronghold on the North, that he needs to wed Sansa Stark, so that they can kind of keep that stronghold. So that whole scene between Roose and Ramsey, we finally know now, as far as what's happening, as far as with Sansa's character, because I knew that was going to be a big plot point this season, was Ramsey and Sansa presumably going to wed. And then we get to the scene with Baelish and Sansa outside of Moat Cailin, and just another heartbreaking scene for Sansa, man, because like I said, she's been put through the, and actually she's going to get a lot worse for Sansa. When we thought at this point it may be getting better for her, but we knew that her with Baelish was not going to have good results, and we see that Baelish has brought her to Moat Cailin to marry Ramsey, and she's not for that. And he talks her, he I don't want to say he convinces her, but he calms her down and says, like, you've been a standby for so long. He's like, you need to take action. And of course, this is the man who betrayed you and was a traitor that killed your brother. But yeah, I know you had some things you were saying off air about Baelish and his motives for that.
When last season, when they were at the Eyrie and he was plotting to have, what's her name that he pushed out the moon door?
Lysa Arryn.
Yeah, when he pushed Lysa. So that whole scene in the courtyard when he wanted her to see, when he kissed Sansa, and the way that he was behaving towards her, I couldn't. Remember when I asked you, remember when I told you, like, I was confused as to Baelish's motives? Like, did you think he genuinely loved Caitlyn? And like, regarding his behavior towards Sansa, like, is he using Sansa as a replacement for Caitlyn? Or, because I was confused, because I'm thinking, like, okay, if he really, really loved Caitlyn, then why would he be trying to get with Sansa? If that was what he was even trying to do, right? But this particular scene that you're talking about now, when he reveals to Sansa that, I really brought you here to marry you, or to have you marry off to Ramsey. Mm-hmm. So I think he really doesn't care for Sansa in the way that he was telling her, and in the way that I guess was suspicious of. Because he's basically using her as a pawn for his political gain to amass his power. Because if he marries her off to Ramsey, then he also has an ally in the north, with the Eyrie, right? As opposed to another enemy. And as we talked about before, I mean, that's really all he wants: his own house, his own army, his own power. And should he decide to overthrow the Lannisters or whoever, he's got the Boltons and he's got his army from the Eyrie. You know what I'm saying? So
Knights of the Vale,
he's basically using Sansa to do that. Or I'm trying to think this, or because I can't remember the rest of this season or what happens afterwards. But also, do you think? No, that's it. I was gonna say, because he had no way of knowing the events that transpired between Sansa and Ramsey, how those things played out. He had no way of knowing that. So basically, I guess he's just using her just to for basically be able to say to the Boltons, "Hey, you owe me one."
Yeah, you're true. Okay, that makes sense.
Which is fucked up.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we expect anything different from Baelish?
No, I'm saying it's fucked up.
I know. Let's talk about that scene with Brienne when she tells the story about Renly and her childhood. I thought that was another great monologue from Brienne to give us a little bit more backstory about her, to really kind of get a little bit more invested into her character and sympathize with her a little bit more. I like that moment between her and Podrick.
Well, before she even tells that story, there's a great moment. Another great moment between her and Podrick when, again, she's still feeling less than, she's not feeling confident in herself. So, Podrick talks about how Tyrion, regardless of his reputation, always treated him kindly, and Brienne snaps at him like, everyone you've squired for has treated you kindly except for me. Like, I'm the only one that's been a dick to you or whatever. And then Podrick says, well, it's okay, because if but because you're the greatest fighter I've ever seen. Like, you took down the Hound, and basically, giving her some affirmation of something that she forgot to see in herself, that there is more to her. She is someone worth being proud of and worth squiring for, and it caused her to reflect for a moment and then apologize to Podrick for snapping at her. And he just retorts with, well, it's okay. Like, if you never snapped at me, I wouldn't learn anything. And so we get a moment of not necessarily peace, but this is the first time Brienne is basically saying, all right, you know what, I've been a dick to you. You don't deserve it. She opens up to him, and then it allows her to be able to confide in him and tell him that story.
Yeah. And now she's going to train him twice a day so that he learns how to fight and how to ride a horse, because we saw in the last episode that Podrick does not know how to ride a horse, especially if they're being chased. That's the most important thing. Then we get the great story telling us, or telling Podrick and telling us, why she was loyal to Renly, because of the things of how her being mocked and basically bullied as a child. And Renly was the only person at that time to really see Brienne for who she was, and to show compassion towards her. So I thought that was a really, really good moment between the two of them. Then we get to Jon Snow, and there's two great moments. There's one scene, but there's two different conversations. The one with Stannis, and then when Stannis leaves, and he has the one with Davos. Mm-hmm. And because I made sure I put that, because I actually think the one with Davos was really, really probably a little bit more poignant and more, not necessarily more important, but I thought that was a good conversation, especially the fact that the two of them are together at this point now in the show. But again, he refuses Stannis' offer to make him the Lord of Winterfell and to make him a Stark, and that he's vowed to stay. Now that he's Lord Commander, he won the election. And he says, like, I think he says, well, you're stubborn and you're honorable, just like your father. And he takes that as a compliment, and Stannis didn't mean it that way, because he says that's what got your father killed. And I don't know, that was just a great scene between the two of them, and of course with Davos as well. And Davos trying to convince Jon, where he has the kid Ollie kind of repeat the vows, and the one party says, to protect the realm to protect the realm of men, and pointing out that, like, I know you're part of the Night's Watch, but you're also here to protect the realm. I forget exactly what the part of the vow was, but I just thought it was just a great moment between Davos and Jon Snow. Then we got Arya, when she rids herself of all of her clothes and all the stuff, and it's hard for her to give up Needle.
Well, yeah, I mean, it means a lot to her.
Yeah.
She probably wouldn't have made it as far as she would not have made it as far as she did without Needle, and then what it means to her if it was given to her by her brother, but then also, like, being trained by Cyril, and her training combined with actually having that weapon, like, and then she's been through so much with it. But it's really her only connection
back
to her life before everything went tits up.
Yeah, man. So it is a great moment with her, and I don't know. I remember seeing that for the first time. I was like, oh man, is she really gonna do it? And then, like, nah, she hit it. I was like, so she's she's trying to be no one, but there's still a piece of Arya there. Still a piece of her there.
Yeah.
So then we have Sansa when she meets Roose and Ramsay. So when they enter the gates of Moat Cailin, and man, I just, it's so fucked up, man. It's just like, this is the dude that was a traitor against your brother, stabbed him in the heart, and then you have to marry his son. But you know what? I think from what we were talking about with all the stuff at the Eyrie that happened with Lysa, Sansa's not stupid, and of course we already know how a lot of this stuff is going to play out later on in the series. But just going back and watching it now, like she's remembering a lot of this stuff, especially the way she was able to come back for Baelish's comeuppance last season. So it's like they're saying. I like what that lady said. The North remembers, because they never forget. But I just think that was just, oh man, just Sansa, man. She's just been through so much. John. I like this scene. Jon Snow beheads Janice.
Well, that's what you get.
Yeah, man. So, he's Lord Commander now, and he's giving people different positions and where they need to go and stuff like that. And so he makes Alliser First Ranger. And and then he gives Janice Slint, goodness, I forget what position, but it's a position that he does not want. And he lets Jon.
He makes him like the captain of the South Wall or some shit like
that. And it's in ruins. And he's like, look, I want you to go over there, get it straightened up and everything. I'm giving you this command to do this. And he refuses, and he basically spits on Jon Snow, just spits on his name, just talking bad about him in front of his own men. And he's like, look, I'm not asking you, I'm giving you an order. And he calls him a bastard, all this shit. And he's like, all right, man. He's like, look, y'all take him outside. And Alliser gets up. It's like they like surround him, like they're going to protect him.
Yeah.
And then Alliser's like, "Hey, look, man, he just appointed me First Ranger. I'm good for now." So sorry for you. So they take him out. They get the tree trunk. Get him ready. And I like this moment because we talk about this a lot, and I talked about it in the last video with Danny, when showing mercy can also at the risk of being weak. And I think in this moment you're seeing that with Jon Snow, especially when you start to see Janice start to quibble and beg for his life, because you have his men around there, and you also see shots at Stannis, and Stannis is like that guy, like he's looking down to see what Jon Snow and just the decisions that he's going to make. And I don't know. I like these moments like this because you can see Jon Snow trying to figure this all out, like what it means to be a leader. Do I show mercy at the expense of being weak in front of my men? And like Stannis is quivering, and it makes it seem like he's not going to do it. But
who's quivering?
What did I say?
Stannis?
I don't fucking know anymore, man. Janice, Stannis, Janice Slint is quivering, and it makes it seem like Jon might show him some mercy, but he doesn't. Man, and them beheaders be like so clean, man.
I don't know. There was one earlier in the series where somebody had to cut like a few times. Like it wasn't clean. It took like a few chops. I want to say, was that?
Oh man, I know.
I think that was Theon. Like, cause he couldn't get the sword all the way through or some shit like that. I think it was Theon.
Yeah. I think it was. I forget who he beheaded. It was somebody in Winterfell.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Maester. The Maester. God, I forgot his name already. That was no.
It wasn't.
He didn't. It was someone else. I can't remember. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I mean, it's Theon. Theon don't.
Damn.
I like Theon, but he can't get the clean swipe, man, because he questioned himself as he was swinging, and that's the thing. You got to once you commit, you got to commit before the swing.
Yeah.
And then you can't come here and then think about it and then come. No, you got to commit. You didn't do it. So then we have the High Septon in the brothel.
Oh yeah, damn.
So this is the High Septon. He married. We saw him earlier when he wedded. When he married Marjorie and Tommen, and so this is a man of the cloth, you know. A man that represents the religion, you know. He's like he's an equivalent to what the Catholics. What is it?
He's a priest.
The priest, but the oh goodness,
the Pope.
The Pope.
Is he? Is he though?
I mean, he's representing the religion, and he's in the brothel, man. He's in the brothel trying to get his rocks off, man. I mean, you know, I mean.
He said he was spreading the word to the low.
He was spreading, yeah. He was spreading something. I don't know if it was the word, but they come in. Some of
the sparrows.
The sparrows come in. It's like, look, you're a sinner. You're a sinner, and so and your punishment for that is to be basically humiliated.
And they made him do the walk of shame.
Yeah, the walk of shame, and whipping him and beating him as he walked down the cobble streets, and then he goes to Cersei. It's like, look, man, these guys they did this horrible thing to me. It's like, look, I'm the High Septon. How could they do this to me? They're like, where were you? It's like, you was at what were you doing at Baelis's brothel? It's like, you know, like some of the people there need, like you said, they need to hear the word too. Mm-hmm. But so then Cersei is like, okay, let me go talk to the High Septon. So then that's when I have here Cersei meets with the High Sparrow, and we get the introduction to Jonathan Pryce, and he's in Flea Bottom feeding some of the poor people of Flea Bottom. Which actually, like, they were serving them some tomato soup. It looked good, man. Sorry.
That shit did not look good, bro.
It looked good.
You must be hungry as fuck if that shit look good to you, bro.
You don't like tomato soup?
Not that. If that was even tomato soup, I don't like that tomato soup.
It looked good, man. But so yeah, we get our introduction to Jonathan Pryce as the High Sparrow, which is going to be an integral part of this season. But it's interesting because Cersei kind of agrees. She said something in that kind of stood out to me. She was like, look, the High Septon represents our religion, and in King's Landing, all we have is our religion and the crown. And if any of those are either are looked down upon or mocked, then we can't really have that. So she said that, and the High Septon has been put down into the Red Keep. So I don't know. That was an interesting scene to see between the two of them.
Well, because that's Cersei plotting. All right, I'm gonna get the High Sparrow, I'm gonna bring him on board, let him find out about Marjorie's brother, and then use that as leverage. Because that's what's gonna happen in the show. But Cersei's already plotting this now. Like, we don't know it yet as viewers initial watch, but that's the whole purpose of her trying to form an alliance with him, which is going to blow up in her face. And that's when I'm watching the scene, that was the big thing to me. It's like, damn, you brought this shit on yourself. What's going to happen to you later in the season? And it's evident, like, right here, upon a rewatch.
You brought it on yourself. Seriously, Baelish. Oh, Baelish. There's a conversation between Baelish and Bolton. So she sends out a letter to the Eyrie for Baelish. And I'm not sure what that. Cersei. She sends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she sends a letter, but I'm not sure what that letter was saying. They never mentioned what was in that letter or what it was about.
I don't think it comes into play in this episode.
Yeah, but Bolton basically is talking to Baelish as far as like just him not really trusting him, I'm assuming. Well, no, I mean, no one really trusts Baelish. Yeah. But I don't know. You could just definitely see that Roose Bolton is on notice as far as like, he says like, you're here I can't remember exactly what he said. But anyway, let's go to Tyrion and Varys at the brothel in Volantis. The final moments. So Tyrion wants to he wants to stop looking at Varys' face. And he needs to get out of this box that they're traveling in. So they're at Volantis, and so and it's a risk for Tyrion to be out and about because of course there's a price on his head. But they're thousands of miles away from King's Landing, and it's like, look, let's just go out and just I need to see somebody other than someone with a bald head. But I don't know. I like the moment. There's a couple different moments, but the one in the brothel, because that really kind of leads into the final scene where he's talking to one of the prostitutes at the brothel, and I like the moment where and Tyrion got game. I realized that.
Well, yeah. I mean, he knows how to.
He knows how to talk.
He knows how to talk to people and read people.
Yeah, and but the moment that the girl is going to take him in the back, he can't do it. And I don't know, that maybe he's still kind of, feeling some way about his relationship with Shay.
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, that's
remembering how that relationship started and ended.
Yeah, and it kind of caught him off guard too. And I don't know, I thought it was just a really, really good scene between the two of them. And then, of course, we know Jorah is in that brothel as well. And there's a prostitute that's dressed like the mother of dragons, and she's flirting with some guys in the distance from Jorah. And we see how Jorah is just kind of really distraught at the idea of these men having a fantasy about sleeping with the mother of dragons, because we all know that's his girl.
Is it though?
That's his woman, or his woman in his dreams. But Tyrion goes to take a piss, and I guess he saw Tyrion there, and he's got a bright idea that, hey, if I bring Tyrion to Dany, then that'll get me back in the good graces, not knowing that, motherfucker, I was headed there anyway.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I know that this go around was, so when he abducts Tyrion, he says, "I'm taking you to the queen." So back when this initially aired, because the last time we were with Jorah was that scene with when he was dismissed, right? Yeah. And it was revealed to us and to Dany that he's spying for Cersei, right?
Well, for Varys, but Varys was in King's Landing,
right? Yeah. So I think, if I remember correctly, like when this initially aired, or at the very least when I saw it, I was under the assumption that, oh shit, he's gonna go back to King's Landing. He's gonna take him back to King's Landing. Yeah, and so there was a suspense of, oh shit, like Tyrion just got caught. He's going to be in trouble now. Which
makes sense. And I think that piece of dialogue, to kind of keep it a little bit ambiguous makes sense, especially like if you think about watching it week to week. And to end it on that, you're like, oh shit, like where is he going to take him?
Because early in the episode, they do more than once, Varys and Tyrion are out in public, and Tyrion will leave him, like just go off and not too far. He just won't say, hey, I'm gonna be over here. And then Varys will look up and Tyrion's gone. He's like, oh shit. And it happens like at least twice in this episode. So when it happens this final time, when Tyrion decides to go take a piss, Varys looks up and Tyrion's gone. It's like, oh shit. So that, coupled with the fact that Tyrion's on the run, it's constantly remarked that you can't go out because there's a bounty on your head.
Yeah.
Cersei wants you dead. And then Jorah finds him, says, I'm taking you to the queen. Last time we saw Jorah, it's revealed he was a spy for King's Landing. So there was this suspense of, oh shit, Tyrion's fucked. He's going back to King's Landing.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
That's not the case. It's all headed in the same direction that we expected to head. So that is episode 3, The High Sparrow, directed by Mark Mylod. Mark Mylod. I don't know how to pronounce it. Mylod. There you go. So go ahead, rate, like, subscribe, and share. Leave your comments below. And remember to follow our other dorks at Mouth Dork, at WB Dash, at Sidewalk Siren. I am the Turtle Dork. This is the Disco Dork. And with that, we are out.